Hello, I'm very pleased to be welcoming this week to take our collective worship the Reverend Peter Butchers from Upper Beeding Baptist Church. Those of you who've seen Peter taking assemblies before at Steyning Primary will know what a great speaker he is, what a great sense of humour he has, and what a good friend he's been to Steyning Primary. In fact, Peter's very involved with Steyning Grammar School too, so even when you've left Steyning Primary, you'll see Peter there. Last week, our vicar, Father Mark Heather, gave an address which was linked with a hymn from our choir, led by our organist, Brian Sawyer. Well, this week, Peter's going to give an address that has a link with a song recorded by our music group. This consists of Neil Ayton on keyboards, Tricia Harwell on violin and singing, me on guitar, and someone you know very well, Mrs. Simon Knowles, singing. In fact, the group also includes Mr. Knowles' wife, Vanessa Knowles, and Tamsin Ripley, who play the flute, but they aren't able to join us at the moment because you're not allowed to play a blowing instrument or wind instrument during the coronavirus pandemic. So, over now to Reverend Peter Butchers.
Hello there, children. I haven't seen you for so long. I hope you're all doing well. Hi. Hola. All right? How you doing? What's up? Good morning. Or is it good afternoon? You know, there are so many different ways we can say hello to each other. I wonder, which one do you choose? How do you say hello to your friends? How do you say hello to your teachers? How do you say hello to those people at home? I suspect there are lots of different ways that you use. You know, my granddad was a proper old man. He smoked a pipe, he had his own chair that no one ever sat in, he never lifted a finger around the house to help my grandma, and he always wore a cap or a hat when he left the house, and he kind of smelt musty like a mix of tobacco and polos. He was very polite, very kind. He was a great granddad. He's no longer alive, sadly. In fact, he died when I was just a little bit older than you are now. His name was Sid, and he had a very few cool and, well, old-fashioned habits. You know, when he saw someone in the street or at church or in the bowls club, he never said hi. He never said hello. He didn't often say good morning. I wonder, can you guess what he said? It's a difficult one. He said a really old-fashioned phrase. When he met somebody he knew, he'd say, "How do you do?" That's a very strange thing to say. How do you do? Well, if I were to ask you, how do you do? I wonder what answer you would give. Here is a little video clip to see what other people think the answer is to the question, how do you do? How do you do?
Fine, thank you. And you? Fine, I'm okay.
How do you do?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
How do you do?
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 It's so old-fashioned, isn't it? But the answer to the question, how do you do, is incredibly, how do you do? It's mad. You don't say anything really about how you actually are. You don't share any information about how you're feeling or what's going on in your life, what's really happening on the inside. It's kind of a way of saying hello and nothing more. It seems a bit strange. Really, really old-fashioned. But that was my granddad Sid. He was a bit old-fashioned. Now my grandma, Win, Sid's wife, she was a lovely old grandma. You would have liked her. Now, she wouldn't answer that question, how do you do? She would answer like this, mustn't grumble. Well, that's even worse. To say mustn't grumble kind of means I'd love to tell you how miserable or how difficult things are, but I'm not allowed to complain or grumble or even be honest. It just seems crazy. Now, they lived a long time ago in very different times. And we have learned, haven't we, that it's really important to be honest about how we are, how we're feeling. And that helps us to make sure the people around us know when we're feeling sad or grumpy or happy or worried or we feel let down or anxious. And it's really important, especially at the moment, because things seem so strange, don't they? It's so different at the moment. And I find that when I share with my friends how I'm really honestly feeling, it can be hard to do that sometimes, but when I tell my friends, I feel better about what's worrying me, about what makes me sad or upset. They don't need to do anything other than listen to me usually. It's just good to tell them how I feel, and they tell me how they're feeling too. That's really important, to remember that we're not alone, that as we journey through life trying to be friends together, whether we're angry or sad, or whether we feel up or down, or whether we're fed up or fearful, we can reach out to our friends, to our teachers, to the people at school and at home that we trust, and tell them, how do you do? Really and honestly. Now, as a Christian, I find myself praying those things too. Sometimes I pray them out loud, sometimes I pray them inside my mind. And I've learned to trust that God has my best in his heart. And the Bible says that. The Bible says, trust all your worries to God because he cares for you. All the things that we care about, all the things that worry us, all our concerns, every time and every day we can trust God with them, for he cares about us deeply. He has loads of love for us and lots of patience, and he watches over us carefully. Now, here's a song that I think you already know, and it reminds us to be still, to be calm, because God is with us. And he always is with us. I hope you'll sing along. You know, often when we go through hard times or have worries, it's good to talk to God by praying. So maybe you might want to get a few people at school and write down some of those things that you're feeling right now. They could be big things or little things, and they can become prayers. And whenever we talk with our friends, well, we can talk to God in the same way because He cares for us deeply. So my granddad would say, "How do you do?" And we would never really find out what was on the inside, what people were really feeling. But let us make sure that we truly care for each other and to remember that we're never alone. We're in God's hands. We're in good hands. So whatever you're up to and however you do, see you again soon. Bye-bye.